Hello and welcome to the Thursday lecture. Um, this is March 11th, and we are talking today about finding the equation of a line when we're given 2 points. Okay, this is kind of what I consider kind of the granddaddy of them all. It's the hardest one of these situations that we've been given to write the equation of a line. And really, what we've worked on so far is we've worked on a step by step process to get here. So, a lot of what today is going to be, what we're going to be working on today, is turning today's problem into a similar problem that we saw yesterday. But it takes a little bit of work to go from today's work to yesterday's. Okay. Now, the beauty with this is it's all things that we've seen before. It's all things that we've dealt with before. But it does take a little bit of work to get from what we're doing today to get it to be a little bit of an easier problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Also, there's going to be a test tomorrow over all this stuff, so be prepared for that as well. Okay, think about everything that we've talked about so far. We've talked about the writing the equation from the graph, writing the equation given the slope and the y-intercept, and yesterday we talked about we were given a slope and a point, and today we have 2 points. So we've been working up to this, we've been building up to this, and so let's go ahead and see what it looks like. First thing I want to do, kind of like what I did yesterday, I want to look at it graphically first. Okay, so that just to show you that it can be done just using a graph and graphing your points and graphing the information that you have, and then you can figure it out. Okay, so that's kind of why I went over giving a graph first, that if you want to, you can get out a piece of graph paper or make your own graph and do it that way. So that way, if you forget everything that we talked about, you have something to fall back on. I think that that's very powerful to have multiple ways to do the same problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. I want to find the equation of the line through the 2 points. I have 3, 4, and negative 3, 0. So if I look where 3, 4 is, that point is right here. And negative 3, 0, that point is right here. In any situation, once I know 2 points, I know that there's a single line that goes between them. And that's the idea that we're working with on a problem like this, is that 2 points is enough to define where a line lives. And so the line's right there. And keep in mind, I'm trying to write y equals mx plus b. Okay, so I'm trying to write that equation. I need the slope, and I need the y-intercept. Those are the two pieces of information that I need to find. Okay. So given those 2 points, we can use those 2 points to find our slope, and I think that's a very valid strategy. Start at the point on the left, count up until you're even with the other one. If you can do a straight line, that would probably be better. But I went up 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my slope is 4 over 6. Now that does reduce, and we should reduce it to give ourselves a little better look at this. It reduces to 2/3. Now in all the problems today, every problem is going to have 3 answers. It's going to say, what is the slope? What is the y-intercept? And then what is the equation? So I'm going to try to tailor my answers in that way also. Okay, I would say for this first one that I have a slope of 2/3. And that's going to be worth a point. That's why I'm bringing this up. But you do have to answer all 3 of these, and that they're all worth points. Okay. Now we've talked about this a little bit before, that since my slope could have reduced, I could have started at this point and found a point that was up 2 and over 3. And that point ends up being very important in that it's the y-intercept. Okay, this point right here is my y-intercept, or my b. Okay, and in this case, the b is equal to positive 2. Okay, my y-intercept is equal to positive 2. Now that I know my slope and my y-intercept, it's like a problem from like Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday we talked about here's the slope, here's the y-intercept, write the equation. Okay, slope of 2/3, y-intercept of 2. My equation is going to be y equals 2/3 x, do not forget the x, plus 2. I've been saying don't forget the x every day because it's a very common mistake to just get so excited. Like I found my slope, I find my y-intercept. I know the slope goes first, and I get students that'll write y equals 2/3 x, or sorry, y equals 2/3 plus 2. Yeah, I did it. Okay. That doesn't really make sense because that's just y equals 2 2/3, and you don't have an x involved, so it would be like, I don't know, like this horizontal line. That would be y equals 2/3 plus 2. It's not until you get the x in there that you get that angled line, that line that has a positive slope. Okay, so don't make that mistake. Don't forget your x. It's going to cost you. The beauty with today is if you forget that x, it's going to cost you 1 out of the 3 points that are possible. Okay, so that's the difference between the other problems that we've done, and when I ask you all 3 of those questions on every single problem, it doesn't penalize you as much if you forget that. Yesterday's assignment, if you forgot that x, it's going to take all the points off. I'm going to probably add some points back in, but at base value, it's going to take all the points off. So we do need to talk about, though, when this process gets a little bit difficult. When we get numbers, okay, you can't see all that because I'm in the way. That's lovely. Love it when I'm in the way. Hey, look, there's words right there. Okay. So to complete this process, when the numbers get difficult or you don't have a graph available that's big enough, we want to follow these steps. Okay. When we want to find the equation of a line given 2 points, I want to find the slope between the 2 points. We've talked about how to do that before. And we use the equation that we talked about with that as the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? If you remember that equation, we can find the slope between 2 points. So we're going to find the slope, and then what we'll have is we'll have a slope and we'll have 2 points. That's kind of like yesterday's work. Yesterday we were given the slope and a point. Okay, so the only difference there is that now I kind of have 2 points and I get to pick which one I want to use. Okay, and that actually makes things a little bit nicer. I can pick my favorite point, or well, my favorite out of 2, I guess. It's not really a favorite, but I have options of how to proceed from there. But then I'm doing a problem just like yesterday. Here's the slope, here's the point, plug that point in and solve for b. So again, that was yesterday's material. And then I just want to write my final equation with the m and b that I've found. Okay, we're going to look at 2 examples of that, and then and these are actually 2 of your homework problems. They're your first 2 homework problems. So if you watch the video or participate in class, you will have 2 of the 4 problems done, and that's a pretty good deal. But again, the homework is going to ask for what is your, I'm going to put this down here a ways, what is your slope? What is your y-intercept? And what is your equation? And we want to make sure that we fill out all those, because again, if all we do is we find slope and we find that right, and then we mess up on the y-intercept, you're not losing all the points that way. Okay, you're only losing, well, I guess 2 of the 3, which still isn't great, but it's better than 0. Okay, it's better than getting 0 out of 3 correct, or even 0 out of 1. All right, so we have through the points 1, -2, and 3, 0. Now, I am going to hold back on graphing this because I don't want to just reassure something that I already know. Okay, I want to be working a little bit harder than that. So my first step, as it said on the previous page, is to find the slope. So I'm going to be looking for y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if you go at writing this problem out, which you really should, because I don't think I can do it just off the top of my head. I might be able to get close, but still it's pretty tough. Okay, so write these out, but give yourself plenty of room because these problems are going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of space of writing. It's kind of like combining somewhere around 2 to 3 problems that we've already done before. So it will take a little bit of room. That's why I tried to give myself enough room, and it's probably not going to be enough. All right, so I go through and I label x1, y1, x2, y2, and I plug that into my equation. y2 is 0, y1 is -2. x2 is 3, x1 is 1. And it's always subtraction. The only time it doesn't end up being subtraction is when I have this minus and negative that I turn into adding a positive. So 0 plus 2 is 2, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So my slope is 1. So now I have a problem that's sort of like yesterday. I want to find the equation of a line that has a slope of 1 and it goes through, and I could kind of pick, right? I could pick which point I wanted to use. I always, if I have 0 involved in one of my points, that usually makes things a little bit easier. So I'm going to pick this second point. So through 3, 0. It would work out the same if you chose the other point. There just might be some different work when you're going to solve the equation. So I do what I did yesterday. I write the equation with my slope, y equals 1x plus b, instead of mx plus b, because the slope is 1. And now I'm plugging in my points. Remember, this is an x and this is a y. So I'm plugging 0 in for y and 3 in for x. 1 times 3 plus b. And again, I kind of like to put that in parentheses. So I know that that's the number that I plugged in. Sorry. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm just solving this equation for b. And to solve this for b, I have to subtract 3 on both sides. And 0 minus 3 is just -3. So -3 is my y-intercept. So -3 is my y-intercept. Now I'm trying to write the equation. Y equals slope times x plus my y-intercept. So now that I have that information, I can say that y is equal to 1x minus 3. Or if you want to be a little bit cleaner, you can just say that y equals x minus 3. Again, 1x and x are the same thing. Okay, that's a huge way to simplify your work. Okay, cool. So that problem's done, but look at how much work there was to do there. I had to find slope, and I had to find the y-intercept. Gosh, like 2 days ago, we were given the slope and given the y-intercept. It gets hard. It gets a little bit harder from 2 days ago till today. Okay. Let's look at this next one. So I've got through the point 4, 0, and -1, 4. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find my slope. Again, the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll plug in my points, my x1, y1, and x2, y2. Or in other words, the x-coordinate from the first point, the y-coordinate from the first point, the x-coordinate from the second point, the y-coordinate from the second point. Okay? But that is equal to, I'm plugging these in, y2 is 4, y1 is 0, so 4 minus 0. x2 is negative 1, minus x1 is 4. The top isn't too bad. 4 minus 0 is 4. The bottom's a little trickier. Negative 1 minus 4. You get a lot of people that get that wrong. But I'm starting at negative 1, so I'm thinking about like here's 0, here's negative 1, right? Thinking number line. And I'm going back 4 more. Right? I'm going backwards 4 more. So that's going to end me at negative 5. Now we don't like to write 4 over negative 5. Instead, we'd rather say negative 4 over 5 in one of two ways. It can either be out in front of the fraction or kind of how I like it. Okay, I'm glad that I'm doing that, and I just looked and realized you can't see any of that. Okay, sorry about that. So you can either write it as part of the numerator or in front of the fraction. It doesn't matter. But my slope is negative 4/5. So I know you can't see that again, but I'm going to write it down here. Okay. Now that I have that slope, it now turns into yesterday's problem. Hold on. Got a lot of stuff on my desk. It's a little messy. It turns into yesterday's problem where I have the slope and I have actually 2 points, and I can pick either one. I'll pick the harder one on this one just to show you that it can still be done. So let's say that we have m is equal to negative 4/5, and it goes through. And I challenge you to pick this easier point and work it out, and let's see if we get the same thing. Or you can write what I'm writing. It doesn't really matter. Okay? But if you want to challenge yourself, pick this other point, this 4, 0, and see if you get the same answer that I get. It would be a good test for you, because we should get the same answer. I write the equation that has my slope in it. So I have negative 4/5 x plus b. And I'm going to plug my points in for x and for y. Yeah, either way you do this, it's going to be a tricky problem. Okay, it will be a tricky problem. So let's take a look at it. So this is my x, this is my y. So y is 4. My x is negative 1. And I'm going to have some work to do. There's no way around it. The reason I say that is I have a fraction, and I'm going to continue to have a fraction. Negative 4/5 times negative 1. Negative times a negative is positive, and 4/5 times 1 is 4/5. So I have a positive 4/5 plus b. Now the way I solve this, I'm actually going to move this stuff down just a little bit because I'm going to need a little more room here. No, come on. There we go. Let me move that down just a little bit farther. And I'll get back up to what we're doing here. Okay. The way I'm going to solve this is I'm going to subtract 4/5. And that's a little bit tricky because I need common denominators. My problem is 4 minus 4/5. But I need common denominators. I want my denominator to be 5. Well, how many fifths is 4? Right, that's my question. Well, this is really 4 over 1. And to turn 1 into 5 using multiplication, I have to multiply by 5. So I need to multiply 4 by 5 to get my numerator. 4 times 5 is 20. So this is 20 fifths minus 4/5. but that's really just 20 minus 4, which is 16/5. So when I do this subtraction, I'm going to get 16. Actually, I'm going to go back to using red. I'm going to get 16. Come on. Have a good. Right gooder, please. 16/5 is my y-intercept. It's an ugly one. I know, it is, but that's okay. 16/5 is my y-intercept. So I get y is equal to -4/5. Don't forget the x, plus 16/5. And that's my answer. Again, not a pretty one, but it is a good answer and it is correct. Okay. So that being said, make sure you do your homework, get that done. And also, I just want to say I've put up all these videos. I don't think anybody's watching them. I really urge you to watch videos. They're 20 minutes of your life. This one's about 21. I know that it's painful to go to class and watch a video, but it's an easy way to be more successful. Okay, you're just hearing the information again. Okay, even if you just sit there and watch it, don't write anything, you're still catching on to a process. It's invaluable. Okay. Anyways, have a good day. If anything doesn't make sense, make sure you get a hold of me, and we will see you in class.